Hello and a very warm welcome back to KGC Engineering. I know it's been a little while since I've done a video for you, but today we're starting a brand new project and it's this 1991 Mini. Now this is one of the Minis that was in the unfortunate case of the Northwest Mini Centre, and the owner got in touch with me and said, "Kevin, I want you to fix my Mini up." So it's here, it's arrived. It is one of the more fortunate cars to have come out of that situation, but we're happy to have it here and we're going to make a really nice job of it over the coming months or so. So the next few videos are actually going to be following the progress from start to finish of how we do a full restoration on a classic car, and this Mini is going to be our project. So first things first, well, what do we do for a restoration? Well, obviously we need to go through the car, see what needs to be done, and steadily work through in a sensible way. We've already assessed the vehicle, so now what we need to do is go through and start stripping down all the parts off the vehicle. And when we strip parts down, we will generally try our very best to label them up. So we have lots of little luggage labels. We also have butter tubs and things like that, small boxes, and then we have bigger boxes and even bigger boxes to put all the parts in and all the relevant parts that go together with it. So all the lights in one box, all the other fittings, etc., all together in a box, all labelled up with the car, so we know exactly which car it's from, and that will then go and sit on a shelf until we're ready to refit them later at the appropriate time later on. So that's the basics. So now what we're going to do today is try and start getting off the light fittings, the chrome, and some of the exterior parts. We do need to get the glass out as soon as possible so we can get it away nice and safe, and again with some of the interior. Now we've got lots of boxes and bits and pieces ready to go, so it is a case of get the tool bag out, and with a good selection of tools we can get it all done. So the first items that we're actually going to start taking off is going to be the light fittings. Obviously you've got the front and rears, and on this one we've also got a couple of spot lamps as well. It's important when you're starting to take your classic car apart, not only to obviously label everything as it comes off, but also to see how it comes apart. And if you can get it apart in the way it was put together, it can make it a lot easier. It's not always the case. Sometimes you do have to go in with the power tools like the angle grinder to get stubborn nuts and bolts off, but if you can get it apart with the correct tools, so much the better. So you need to have a look at how it comes apart. Now I'm probably teaching some of you to suck eggs here, but some people you won't necessarily know exactly how to take things apart. So if we look at this headlamp, for instance, we've got an outer chrome bezel, and in there's a screw at the bottom here. So that's the only thing that's stopping it coming off. So we need to unscrew that to then be able to see how the rest of the light fitting comes off from behind. Now you can usually get on with a good screwdriver will get in there quite happily, and you'll be able to do it. Get it turning and it'll hopefully start coming out. Or in the case of this one, it's just spinning around at the moment. Or you may find that with a lot of tools that you can get these days, you can get them in ratchet sets where they actually come with a multiple, a collection of different screwdriver type bits which you can use to get in, and again use it to undo the various parts that you need, as well as obviously nuts and bolts with it. So once you got that unscrewed, we can get that off, and we can then start taking the rest of the light fitting apart. As I've just said, this screw is being a bit open and just spinning around, so it tells me that it's probably not actually attached to anything inside. So I'm actually going to skip to the next step with it. With a flat bladed drive, I'm going to get it in between the outer and the inner chrome bezel and just press it down, and hopefully you'll be able to see there that it's starting to come free from it, and I'll just work it around if we can. Hopefully it'll start to come apart a bit more, he says. There we go. So there we are, that's the outer bezel off, and I can see that it's quite corroded in there, and that screw was never going to be coming out of there. So put that to one side for a minute, and now we're left with the rest of the light fitting. Again, we have an inner chrome bezel, which again is held in with, it should be about 3 little screws, so you should be able to get in again with a screwdriver, and hopefully they'll come apart. Now the bottom one here is separated from the back, so I don't need to undo that. So take the top one off, pop it up there for a minute. Same with the other one. Now, chrome ring should now come off, which it has done. Put it to one side, and then the whole light fitting in itself should then pop out like so. And then it is a matter of just disconnecting the electrical plugs on the back, because we don't, we could then, keep the unit separate. And again, just place it to one side for the time being. Now, that's all made of plastic. So what I can actually do at this stage is put the inner chrome bezel back on where it came from, before we take the cage out, which we should be able to do fairly soon. We don't need to tighten the screws back up, just get them in just to hold it together so we know where they are. And inside here you should find that there's a spring, or it may be a set of screws or something, so that you can adjust the headlamp. So we need to actually get that spring off. Now if you're lucky, you should be able to get it with a pair of pliers. Pull it off and unhook it, and then you should then be able to remove the cage. So that's the first part of the light fitting out. And obviously the next part is then actually going to be getting the inner bucket out, and I'm not actually sure how that's been put in there, so I'm going to need to get a torch and have a look inside the wing. So I need to have a look in from under here and see how exactly that's on there, because they're quite funny fittings, and possibly even some very large pop rivets, which isn't particularly good news if they are, but not to worry. Right, I've had a look in the wheel arch. I've turned the wheels around as well, and I used a good old headlamp. You can get hold of these quite easily these days. And indeed, somebody has actually pop riveted the bucket on. Quite why they've done that, don't really know. So the only real way to get off is to drill it off. So I've got battery drill ready to go, and obviously safety first. Make sure you've got some goggles on, and just very carefully just set to, and hopefully it'll drill through if you've got enough power in the battery. Come on. Has that done anything? Well, yeah, there we go. It's also good to have a good set of drills as well, of various sizes, so you can measure up and see how big you need to drill. Obviously I need to go a bit bigger than what I just had, and probably need a bit more juice in the battery as well. But luckily it's only bits of aluminium, so it should go through quite easily. Bubbles. Don't worry too much about the swarf falling down anywhere, because you can always clean that up later. So now I've got the heads off there, with a bit of persuasion, possibly with a screwdriver, you should be able to release the bucket, and then it will be a case of we need to open the bonnet, follow where the wiring loom goes through, disconnect at the appropriate point, and then we should be able to pull the wiring loom through to release the bucket completely, and the rubber seal, which can actually take off, and then that's that light fitting all ready to be put into storage, labelled up. Alright, so I've started tracing the wire, which is going under the front part of the front panel here. There's a really big connector block there. Yes, there is a piece of wood holding the bonnet up because the bonnet stay's gone missing. I will probably unbolt the bonnet from the hinges in a little while, and just take it off so we've got better and easier access, and then it can just be placed on and off as required. And what I've found with this bit of wiring is that it's been attached to another part of the loom with just some insulation tape, so I'm hoping I'm either going to have to, well, I'm hoping I'll be able to unwrap it, and if not, I'll just get I think I'll just get a knife on that, to be fair, because we're going to need that to be separate in order for us to get the wiring loom for the light fitting apart. Seems to be going, which is always encouraging. And what I'm also going to do is just disconnect the bullet connectors as well. You just do that by just simply pulling them apart. If the car has never been restored before, you will probably find that the connectors have rusted in, so you may need a bit more brute force to separate them, but they should go eventually. Cable tie to the way there. If you have watched any of my previous videos, you'll easily you should know and understand that I like to take things apart as properly as possible, purely so that it just makes life a lot easier when you come to put it back together, because you can see how it's come apart. Let's see what's going on here. So let's go to come out of there. Come on. Two that don't want to come apart now. There's one. Last one. There we go. So, hopefully now I should have a separate loom. There's a phone notification go off. Pull that through, and then there we go. One light fitting off. Whew. So Now I'm just going to do the exact same with the other headlamp, and then we'll go through the side lights. Again, it's a very similar thing, just see how it comes apart, and you can take it apart dead easily, label it all up, put it all in a box together, and basically job is then essentially a good one, and you can move on to the next one. Well, with both headlamps now being removed, and they're put to one side for now, we can turn our attention to the side indicator lights. And again, as with the headlamps, it is just a case of looking and seeing how it all comes apart. This one, like I said, there's 2 screws each side, which amazingly are actually coming undone. Sometimes you do find that not everything's going to undo nicely. And you can see there we've got the orange lamp there, which obviously gives the indication. And have a little look at that. Looks like there's certainly at least one screw there, but with the headlamp now being free, we can actually see behind. Yes, there is actually 3 screws or 3 items there. Certainly a screw there. I think it sort of remains on another. So let's see if I just get this first one out, which I don't think is actually going to do anything. Now I imagine it's because it's quite corroded around here, and you can see there's a lot of rust on it here, so it may be that this is just going to need a little bit of brute force to get it to come free. So yeah, I can see I can move it from behind. Hopefully you'll be able to see that on the camera. It's just wiggling a tiny bit. So I'm just going to screwdriver behind, just see if we can see what's happening. This is going to be a bit of a challenge to get off, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with a little challenge. Get off. What we're going to do is, if we can, do. Well, that's, I suppose, sort of expected. Let's see if we can give it a little drill, see if that'll do anything. Right, clear a way for it to come off. Might not. Sometimes these things, it can come down to sort of experimenting and seeing what happens. Has that released the top now? So that's what it said. So I think challenge out the other ones. More. Seems to be doing something. Well, that's that bulb broken. Might as well drill out the other one whilst we're drilling. There we go. Luckily bulbs are replaceable, and in fairness we probably will end up replacing the light unit anyway, but we may be able to reuse it, so that's why I always like to try and get them off in one piece if possible. What you can see around here, it's heavily corroded, so chances are we will be replacing this bottom part of the front apron when we get round to doing the repairs on it. So let's chase some wires now. So headlamp back on, you can feel again that it's coming through at the top here, and quite luckily its connectors are right next to it where it comes in, so that's quite useful. Pull them out, and again one of the things which we'll probably do will be we will actually replace the wiring looms in it, because we don't really know the condition of them, and we don't want to have a fully restored car and then there be electrical problems with it. And same goes with like the brakes and all the other bits and pieces. You just want, the car, if you're spending all the time restoring it, you don't want to then end up with something that's going to set on fire or something, because you've gone a bit cheap and not bothered replacing something simple like a wiring loom. And you think, well, for a couple of £100, in the grand scheme of things, that's absolutely nothing on in the restoration costs, really. And it's well worth doing. So that's that one done. I'll now get the other one done, get that one off, and then we can have a look and see actually possibly how these spot lamps come off. Well, I might do the back lamps first, so I think we're going to need to get the bumper off, the chrome bumper part off here, to see how these actually come off properly. So yeah. Well, I've decided to see about getting the spotlights off before the back lights, because then it's all the front lights off then. And I've had a bit of an exploration around, and we're going to have to take the bumper off, and we're going to have to take the grille off as well, because the wiring it tucks under here to quite a large connector, and I know that won't pull through. So the first thing I'm going to do is start taking the grille off, and it is just a number of screws around, and hopefully that'll then free that and be able to move that out of the way, which may even then give us better access to get into the brackets for these, and then obviously we'll get the bumper off and be able to finally get them off. It must be the way that they've been fitted, but that's no problem, because it's all going to come apart anyway. So I'll say it's encouraging when the screws spin like that in some ways, in others it's a bit worrying. Cool, that's a stiff one. Right, to come back to that one, let's see if we can get any of the others out first. Just checking around to see if there's any others that I may have missed, which inevitably I'm sure there'll be one. Apart from this one up here, which seems to be not wanting to go. So let's try the other tool. Remember, as I said with the ratchet, the advantage of this is that you can get the weight in two directions, so you can push in and turn, and that has actually trapped it now. So that's going out there. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need an extra little bit of pressure, which you can't always get with the normal screwdriver, because you're trying to turn it and push in at the same time. Whereas with that, you can push with one hand and then push down with the other. So hopefully now. That's that one through. And that one. Right, there's extra screws hidden behind. So that was worthwhile noting, that there might be, other hidden screws behind other pieces. So, get these out. Hopefully. Alright, that's the grill removed. So put that to one side, and what I'll do is I'll get a small plastic parts bag for the screws, and a small piece of wire or some tape, and I'll tape it to the grill so I know that those screws go with that grill. Bearing in mind they're going to be replaced anyway, it's just one of those, if we've got the screws there, I know that there from it, and it's going to be a lot easier to sort out afterwards. And obviously now we can see the wiring a lot better, so let a lot of light in really, so it might have been worthwhile doing earlier. So that's the big connector to the back of this spot lamp. You can see there's no way that that was going to go through there. That's the one for this side by the looks of things, the other half of it, so I have to split that apart and we'll sort that out in a minute. So next job I think it's going to be to take the chrome bumper off. So it's going to be some spanners or some sockets or something, probably sockets. Just have a look again underneath, lamp on, so it makes it a bit easier to see what you're doing. Yeah, some sockets on there. Saves up too big. Yeah, on the right size there. Small extension base to make it a bit easier for me. Next one is in the middle. One more. This end. Transfer bits of glass. Hopefully now there we are, that's the bumper off, and of course as always refit any fittings that you can came off it. What I'm hoping is that we'll be going to be able to reuse this bumper because it's actually in quite good condition. There is a couple of little dents in it, but I'm sure we can get those knocked out. We can possibly get it re-chromed, which will be quite nice. But that can now put away somewhere safe. This is a little dent there somewhere, and go on the shelf, on the top shelf of all the other parts when we're ready. But we can certainly see now that well, we've got a good bit of access to these spot lamps now, which makes it a lot easier, obviously, because these have got nuts on the underside here and here, and obviously there's a bolt at the back as well, so there's definitely a lot easier with the bumper removed. And you can see really that this bottom piece is in very, very poor condition. So let's see if we can get these off. What size do we think that is? Bigger than that. That size will do. What you will tend to find as well is that a lot of the sockets that you get these days are all, well, they're pretty much all metric. You can still get old Imperial and AF ones, but generally you don't actually have to go specifically out to get a specific set. Just get one, one with a good selection of different sockets and things on that you can use. And same with your spanners really. Get a good wide selection, and you inevitably you'll find one that either fits or is just a bit too small or just a bit too big to go on. It's surprising really how often that will happen, but as long as the socket or the spanner's got a good fit on the end of the nut or the bolt, whichever one it is you're trying to undo, then you've got a good chance of getting it off. It doesn't necessarily have to be that specific exact size, although obviously it does help. And it's important as well to try and get a decent kit. Don't buy a cheap one from, say Aldi or Lidl or whoever's got the deal on this week. It'll get you by, but the tools won't last forever, and you end up buying the same tools 2 or 3 times. So you may as well spend some money and get yourself a nice tool set. There we go. So that's one spot lamp off. And again, just replacing the nuts and bolts back on them again, so we know where they're from. Put to one side. Should be able to get this last one done. It's going to be entertaining. Not quite sure I'm going to get spanner in on the other side of this, but I'm sure there'll be a way. Let's just release that and snip those. And obviously, as you can see, sometimes you get some bolts which are very awkward to get the spanner on the other side because there's something in the way, and in this case it's the starter motor's in the way. Alright, but I've managed to get it in there, so hopefully we'll get this out now. Again, I have a feeling that these spot lamps were fitted possibly before the engine went in. So it went in with the wiring loom before the bright work went on afterwards, and the engine was dropped in when you can actually really get to the wiring loom. But I like to try and have the bolts and nuts and bolts and things, well, the light fittings and the glass out relatively early, because they're sort of the smaller semi-delicate items which you want to make sure are packed away nice and safe. So that's that one. So that is, for now, the front end stripped down. Time for a cup of tea, I think. So here we are. I've now just had a nice cup of tea, and it's now time to have a look at the back set of lights. And obviously we've got two rear light clusters, one on each side, and we've also got the addition of the rear fog lamp, and as you can see that's a little bit wobbly, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Let's get these off first, and just as with the front lights, it is a case of just excuse me, going around and just working out how it all comes apart in its own way. Most of them generally will unscrew. There's one missing there, and that one on the top. And what I'm hoping is that this is going to release the lens, which it should do, and hopefully also that nice chrome surround. So get screw out. Like so. There we go. Just watch anything dropping out, such as that piece. There. So, there we are. Now I've got the insides of the light fitting. Now, that chrome surround is actually part of the main fitting. Okay, that's a good thing. So, we now need to open the boot, and we'll need to have a look inside, and yes, I can just feel that there's two nuts at the top there, and there's two at the bottom, which correspond with the hexes located around the fitting. So again, whilst I'm in here, I'm going to disconnect the loom for it, save me a little job later on, because if we can get it all apart relatively easily, so much the better. I'm all for ease taking bits apart, and I think I've actually disconnected the one for the fog lamp as well whilst I'm there. So now should be everything there. So now I just need to find a suitable socket to get in there and onto those. Probably going to be around that size. A bit of play. Let's try the next one down. No. Alright, go with a slightly larger one then. And then find a little ratchet. We should be able to start getting this undone. Now I generally, when I undo light fittings like this, rear light clusters, I generally try and do the bottom ones first. So if you get those off, it then makes it a lot easier to get the top ones off, because you've got the whole weight of the unit pulling against you if you're trying to undo the bottom ones last. So let's pull that through. That's one nut off. A lot of stripping down and putting back together is surprisingly done by feel. You've got to feel your way around where these pieces are, where the nuts are, and where they go. Because you can't necessarily always see them with the nature of the body panels and other bits and pieces in the way. But as you start taking the car apart, you'll soon pick up the little techniques and how it's going to go, and get a feel for what you're feeling out for. Actually, a small version of that one. Should be that one, I think. Right in there. It's really awkward to get to, that one. It's in the way. Let's move that out of the way. Like I've just found, you might find that something's in the way, and in that case it was the washer bottle. It's just in the way of getting to the nut behind here. So I'm just taking that out of the way for now. And back to the front one. Once you get the nuts so far, of course you can just do it by hand. You don't have to use a ratchet all the way to the end. If it'll go, let it go by hand. It is a lot easier sometimes. So hopefully, there we go. It's free. So that's loose. So again, as before, I'm going to fit the nuts onto the back where they came from, so they've not got lost. And chances are we'll probably actually be able to reuse this unit. I'll just get a nice clean up before it goes back on, after we've tested it, of course, before it goes on. Well, that's in good condition and we've not broken anything, which is always a good sign. We'll probably get a new seal on it, and that might well be it. So you can now put the lens cover on. What we're doing, we didn't actually need to take the cover off in the end, but sometimes you need to see how exactly things come apart. If you've not done one before, it's a useful thing to be able to know how it comes apart, so if you do need to get it apart, you've got half a chance with it. So screw those back in there. And at least these are fairly obvious which side goes where with these as well. It's not like some cars where it can be a bit difficult to know if they're handed or not, and if they are, you've got to get them in the right place. But these are pretty obvious that they'll only go in one way around, so that's a good thing. So that's that one. So now get the other side done. Which is going to be more entertaining because we've got the fuel tank in the way. Just noticed that. So yeah, that is going to be interesting. Yes. Well, I'll have a go and see what happens. Right, sod's law. The fuel tank is in the way of me getting the other light fitting off. Now I'm not quite ready to take the fuel tank out just yet. Obviously I will do at some point. And when I do, obviously then I'll be able to remove the other light fitting and I'll be able to put it in the box with that one and all the other light fittings at that time. I've just had a look at the fog light and there's literally not a lot holding it on because it's quite corroded under there. I've already undone the cable for the wiring, and as you can see it is coming loose, he says. That will go. There we go. Sometimes a little bit of brute strength and everything will allow you to achieve the goal of actually getting everything out. There's a bit of sealant stopping it fully coming out there, or a grommet of some sort. Just poke it past it with a screwdriver whilst I can sort of see. He says. There we go. Getting it in the right position. Come on, here you go. There we go. So that's the fog lamp off as well. So now I've got as much of the lighting apart from the rear reg plate light. I'm going to take this bumper off, which will be similar to the front, and then it'll be a case of possibly, I think, actually taking off some of the decals, the rear light, that badge, and then we can actually start looking at getting some of the windows out, I think, then. Should be good. Alright, let's get the bumper off. Well, as you can see, the rear bumper has come off. Actually, all of them but one came off really well. The middle bolt typically is snaps as soon as I put the ratchet on it. So that was obviously quite rusted. It probably is savable. We can probably cut the rest of it off and drill it out and put a new bolt in there. But I think with this one, because there's so many dents in it, we're probably going to end up replacing this bumper. But we'll sort that out nearer the time, and if we do get a new bumper, we get a new one. But for now, it'll join the front bumper and sit on the shelf until we're ready to decide what's happening there. So the other things that I've noticed here is that we've got a couple of little reflectors on the back, which again are just held on by a couple of nuts and bolts, so I can whiz those off and they can actually go in the lighting box, because they're all part of the lighting system in some ways, and it just gives them a place to basically a place for them to live. So I'll whiz those off and then we'll start looking at getting some of these decals off. So that's the reflectors off. Like I said, now I want to have a look at getting some of these decals off if we can. So let's just open the boot again, and they actually appear to just be stuck on. That's quite interesting. Sometimes you get the decals and they actually have pins which go through the bodywork and just clips on the back. That doesn't seem to be the case here, which is both a good thing in some ways. So we'll put that back up there, and if I get a small scraper, we might be able to have a little look and see how it comes off. Just grab a scraper. Another one here. There we are. Right, so very carefully just get the scraper, just work my way around the decal. Hopefully you'll be able to see that it's slowly coming free. Now I'm pretty sure you can get new ones of these, because you can get pretty much anything you want for a Mini. But again, as with everything, I do just like to try and take things off as they are supposed to be. So that's 1.3 taken off. And again, now with the main Mini badge, which looks like it's just been held on with some sort of styrofoam. So these are actually coming off easier than I expected, which is good. For the GBs. It is worthwhile just taking your time getting things like this off. Because if you can reuse them, then great. You can't. It doesn't necessarily happen with all of them, but like I say, if you can reuse them, then that's going to be a good thing. So it's off. Now, you'll probably see a big lump of white stuff here, where the main badge was. I'm not going to worry about that, because we're actually, later on, once we finish completely stripping the vehicle down, this car will be going away for acid dipping, so all that will just disappear then, along with a load of rust as well. So we may have a few repair bits to do on the back here, which I think we inevitably will have. So now, whilst I'm here, I'm actually going to see about getting the registration plate light off. That's the word. I'm trying to think of the name of it then. Which looks like it is essentially just 3 screws in the back. Last one, which inevitably doesn't want to turn. Let's see if that one's better fit on it. There we go. There. So, whilst I can get to that, screws back in the other side. Right, so now, once again, we play Hunt the Wiring Loom, which obviously goes through there. That looks like it's connected there. So we'll pull them free with these bits of tape, so we don't need them in the way. Hopefully you should be able to feed that through. He says. Through that, take the screwdriver out. And that's the registration plate light off as well, which doesn't, in all honesty, look the best, but if it may work. So we may have some parts to replace on that, we may not. We'll have to see how it all pans out, I think, with that. But that can also go in the lighting box. Right, I think we can either do the windows, or do we do the splashes? Might do the splashes for the wheel arches. I think that'll be a good one next. Well, as you can see there, I've just labelled up the box, put the owner's initials on, what car it is and what's in the box. So I know that when we get that on the racking later, when we've got some space on the racking, I know exactly what car it's from and and what is in the box. So for now, I'm just going to chuck it inside the car, out of the way, until we've, like I said, until we've made some space on the racking for it. It can just live inside the car. Like so. So, like I said, the next job I'm going to do is look at the plastic wheel splashers, see if we can get those off. Which looks like a nice simple task, I think it is just a number of screws. So I'll hopefully be able to get them off quite quickly, and then we can move on to perhaps taking the windscreen, maybe the side windows out as well. Alright, so obviously we've got these outer wheel splashers, which basically are just a plastic trim on the outside. There is a pop rivet on there, so we'll have to drill at least one of them out. That looks like a screw. There's another pop rivet there, so there's at least two we're going to have to drill out. Well, let's start by just seeing if we can get the ones that aren't. Oh, hang on, that one actually is a pop rivet, he says. Feeling all optimistic when you can going to be undoing it. This one actually is a screw, I have just double checked it. Let's try the other driver, the ratchet handle on. See if we can get a slightly better purchase. There we go. So that's the one screw out of this particular one. I can't feel any under there, so I think it is just these three pop rivets now. So get the goggles on, and hopefully there'll be enough go in the battery, and let's see if we can get these out of here. That one's bouncing off. Let's try that one. The reason I seem to be bouncing on this front one here is because there's still a little bit of the stick part of the pop rivet sticking out, so I'm just going to have to knock that in with a punch, which I may have to do on this lower one here as well, but we'll see how we go. I think that is getting there. Let's just see if it will pop it. Bigger drill bit. It will be good if we can get these off with as little damage as possible. If we can reuse them, that'll be really good. through that one. Let's have a look at one. It's looking promising. Right, now to deal with this top one. Right, let's see if we can knock the centre out. Or in, just remove it as best we can. Looking too promising. Let's have a go. I'm going to have to get a very small chisel in on that one, annoyingly. It is worthwhile having a small set of chisels and punches. Oh, got it off. It's not, unfortunately, it has cracked that, so we may end up replacing it, but we may not. We'll have to wait and see. It depends on the cost of them. If they're relatively cheap, I haven't actually looked yet, in all honesty. If they're cheap enough, we'll just replace them. But again, it's nice to attempt to get it off in one piece in the right way. Just pull the rest of the rivet out there. Right, so I'll now do the same with the other three of those, and we're slowly getting more and more bits off this. Right, well obviously now I've got the plastic wheel splashes off, and really the next big items to come out is the windscreen, the side windows and the rear screen. But obviously first we need to sort out these wipers, and it is very easy to take these off. Sometimes you'll find that there is a screw right in the end here, but a lot of the time there isn't these days, and if they are stiff you can get in with a flat driver and just wiggle them off bit by bit, and they should go eventually. He says. These have definitely been on for a good while. Come on. Well, it is a surprise. Because normally, they just ping off.
Always the way whenever I do stuff to camera, isn't it? I think, oh yes, this will pop off dead easily. And then of course it doesn't. Flipping out, see if the other one will go. That's ridiculous, that. Looking just as unpromising. Come on, you little sod. That's it. Hey, there we go. Sometimes a bit of brute force does the job. Let's try the other one again. See if that same method will work. Oh yes, there we go. Come up your pop. There we go. If the screwdriver don't work, brute strength. Right, so anyway, back to the windscreen now. We should be able to get out. Now you probably will see that I've done a few screen videos, getting the glass out of a number of cars now. And again, this one follows the very same principle. We've got a tie piece here in the middle. Just should be able to get the driver in and underneath, which then reveals the end of the rubber insert there. Oh, that's stiff. We should then be able to pull that all the way out and around. Ooh, that's wet. That, which should then pop that to one side or on the floor. Remove the rear view mirror from it, and I'm just going to, as I've done with the others, just run the screwdriver around the glass just to free the rubber off, and go around that side to finish that off. This just helps stop the rubber sticking to the glass too much. Just freeze it up a little bit. And then we can get in and palm underneath and just work our way around. We should eventually start to be able to peel it out. So we need to get those couple of scrapers which I had before. There we go. And see if I can just ease them one or two under a bit and just ease the rubber up. Do take your time when you're dealing with the glass and things, as fortunately glass is quite expensive to replace, so I always do like to try and get it out as best as possible. Some people will say, oh, why don't you just cut the rubber? Well, thing is, if you cut the rubber you then lose the pattern of the rubber. So if you're getting a new rubber seal and it's not from one of the usual places that supply the parts to your particular vehicle, then you need to make sure you've got something of the right section in all the dimensions available. And you're not always going to get that, they're not always going to have it in stock, and if you cut the rubber you lose that part of it. This is starting to go now. So I'm just, like you see, I'm just working from a top corner. And now I've got one scraper in. Should now, with that, be able to hopefully wiggle it around. Get another one in a bit further down. And just gently wiggling it a bit back and forth on it. And just start doing the same along the top edge now. We're going to be okay with this. It's going to come out quite happily. Just work your way along. So it will go eventually. It's where, you know, a big flat scraper can work wonders because you get a slightly bigger surface area to press against. And just keep wiggling it. Right, I'll come around that side. Just working it along. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, I'm just letting it find its own way to ease itself out. If you put too much pressure on it, there is a chance you can break the glass, and like I say, we don't want to be doing that. Now, up to that stage, you should be able to just carefully roll it forwards. Then, before it actually fully pops out of the rubber, just lift it up, then you can put it safely to one side. And then the rubber itself should then peel out quite easily, like so. Oh, that's revealed some rust. And just let that drop on the floor for now. Right. And then it's the exact same process for the back screen. So let's go and do that. So that's the back window out. Now you may have noticed within that little time-lapse sequence that I opened the two side windows, and that's to undo the two wires which connect to the heated rear screen. And they're just little tag wires on each end. Do make sure that you remember to undo those, otherwise you'll pull the glass and it won't necessarily always come with you. So now that the front and back screen are out, I can have a look at perhaps now getting the two side screens out, and then we're almost, well, we're getting there very well actually. It's coming apart quite nicely today. So let's have a look at how these side windows come out. Alright, now to get the side screens out, I've just had a quick look, and we've got a couple of screws inside here, and there's two screws on the catch at the back. Now we're actually taking the glass out of the chrome frame because we don't need to. There's no point in doing work that we don't need to do. So all I'm going to do is undo the back end first, which will then hopefully give us enough movement without the window falling out, and then we'll have a look at undoing two front ones. And it seems that there's two different screws. Someone's put flat heads in at the back and cross heads near the front, so it's two different drivers. They do actually appear to be coming out, which is rather good. Hopefully you can see now that the window is a little bit more free. I'll just tidy the catch up a bit. So now should be able to do the front two screws. some of the boxes away out the way. Those two undone, so hopefully now if I peel it out from the back, that should now pull forwards and come free. So that's a nice easy little job to do. So pop that to one side and I'll gather the screws for it. We'll take the rubber seal out as well now, we don't need that in the way. And what I'll do, like with the other panels earlier, the front panel, I'll take the screws, put them in a small bag and tie them onto the framework somewhere, just so that they don't get lost. They're probably going to get replaced, but if we know we've got them, we know we've got those are the screws that came out of there, so they ought to go back in. So, and then I'll just get the other side done. So that completes our first day on the mini project. And as you can see, we've done quite a bit today, and obviously we've still got a heck of a long way to go. But I hope that you've really enjoyed the video, and if you have, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're going to try and get a different video on this, following this car's restoration project all the way to the end every week if we can. Obviously there'll be some weeks where we won't be able to, but hopefully you'll be able to see how we take a car from the rusty little wreck that it is and turn it into something really nice for the owner. So until next time, take care and happy classic motoring.